What's going on, y'all? Thanks for checking in the Khaliis Take. You know what to do. Hit that like, subscribe button. Also hit that notification bell just so you can get the newest and the bonus content first. But hey, let's just go ahead and jump right in. Looks like there's got to be some high form of interest for the Clippers in regards to, or when it comes to John Wall, because they seem to cling to this guy anytime there's any reports out there about him. I mean, you can pull up reports everywhere on the sites on the internet right now about John Wall, and it seems like if there's a John Wall buyout from the Houston Rockets, the Clippers would be interested. And not only them, the Lakers and a few other teams would be interested as well in John Wall. And, at this point, I'll say this, the Clippers are looking at it. If he's bought out by his contract, he's pretty much going to come to any team just to play again, just to be able to go out there and play and get his feet under him and try to get his rhythm back to what he had it, several years ago when he was averaging like 19 and like 8 a game, when he was like one of the top 5 point guards in the league back then. And it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for him to do that. I feel like I haven't seen John Wall play in about a year or two. I feel like I haven't seen him play that long specifically, or at least it seems that way. It might not have been quite that long, but it seems that long. It's just been such a long time since John Wall really played and got a rhythm and played at a high level. You don't really know what you're getting out of John Wall. I mean, in regards to the Clippers, they're looking at it as a win-win. They wouldn't have to give up anything hardly to, get him or anything like that. Because, he'd just be bought out from a contract and he could just basically, sign to another team, whichever team he chooses to go to or whichever team would take him, at this point. So I definitely understand the situation. I really do. At the same time, I don't understand, why the Clippers specifically, look at John Wall the most. And like I said, John Wall, the last time I remember him, he had a lot of talent, a lot of speed, a lot of quickness, able to get to the rim at will, able to move around defenses, get through the teeth of defenses pretty easily, make good passes. All those things. His turnover was a little high 1 or 2 seasons that I remember, but it wasn't the worst. It wasn't as worse as, Russell Westbrook. But at the same time, he'd never been a better player than Russell Westbrook. So, that kind of accounts for that accounts, that counts as well. So we got to look at that as well. And, as far as the Clippers, I know they need a point guard, but I specifically think they can go out and find another way to get one, because I just don't think John Wall has championship mentality. I don't think his game has ever been built for that. Even in his prime, even when he was playing at his best, I didn't think he was a championship caliber point guard. Now, that, can be, thought of differently, because maybe he never had the opportunity to play for, a championship level type team and opportunity. So maybe that's the reason why he never looked like that. So you can also say that as well. And I'm not discrediting if that's how you think, because he's never played with a Ty Lue. He's always played for the Washington Wizards, a team that was never going anywhere anytime soon, a team that was never going to contend for a championship, a team that had potential, to contend a little bit, or at least be a playoff contender back then with him and Bradley Beal, but never really took it to the next level because I didn't think they had the right pieces. And when they did have some pretty substantial pieces on there, I didn't think they had never had the right head coach to help put it all together. So, all that plays a factor, and I definitely understand that. But just looking at John Wall's game, I never saw winning intangibles. I see a highlight player. I see good passes. I see individual, accolades of where he can, have his own, highlights, and he got good individual stats. Like he'll average like 19 and 9 in a season, shoot for over like 40% from the field during the season. But I don't see that championship level DNA in John Wall. I just never saw it. And a lot of people probably will agree with me. A lot of people probably won't, but he just doesn't have winning intangibles. And like I said, you could look at a lot of players and tell at times where they have winning intangibles or not. Like if I look at a point guard like him, John Wall, I don't see winning intangibles. I see a lot of individuality type play. I see high game play in regards to him being a top 10 point guard in the league when he's healthy. Yeah, I see him putting up great numbers. but I don't see winning intangibles. Like if I look at somebody like Malcolm Brogdon on the Indiana Pacers, I see winning intangibles because I see him do little things that I don't see John Wall do. I see him, dive for loose balls consistently. I see him, take charges consistently. I see him he'll leave his defender at times to go in the paint and try to strip the ball from a big man, a 7-footer. I see him making, the right passes instead of like highlight ESPN passes. I see him making the right passes that will work in a playoff game, not passes that just work in the regular season. Now, don't get me wrong. John Wall does some of those things too. He'll take charges. He'll do things like that. He'll cause turnovers at times, but there are times where the game is played different. Like in the playoffs, the game is played from a half court set. It's not as much running up and down. It's more half court basketball. Or there's a lot of half court basketball the later you get in the rounds of the playoffs because teams get more fatigue. It's getting near the end. Teams are trying to outlast one another, of course, and the dynamic of the situation is getting more and more pressurized. So in the playoffs, there's a lot of half-court basketball. And that's where John Wall seemed to always have issues at, even in his past because he couldn't shoot that well. So he's always blazing fast, 100 miles an hour, getting to the rim back and forth. That's always been his thing. But see, that works more in the regular season. In the playoffs, that half-court basketball where the game slows down, you really need a jump shot because teams are playing at a certain pace to run plays at a high level because it's playoff basketball, because it's win or go home. And that type of half-court basketball style doesn't work for players like Russell Westbrook, doesn't work for players like John Wall, which is the reason why they never won championships or never really remotely came close besides Westbrook when he had Kevin Durant and he had James Harden. Besides then, he never came close to a championship because half-court basketball slows down the momentum of players like Russell Westbrook and John Wall. Whereas if you have a decent point guard like a Malcolm Brogdon who knows how to play half-court basketball, who rather play half-court basketball, when the game is slowed down and still can execute plays at a high level because he can knock down a jump shot pretty consistently, it makes him more valuable. That gives him more of a winning intangible. So not only he is scrappy on defense, diving for loose balls, things like that, taking charges, causing turnovers at times, which I'm talking about Malcolm Brogdon, but he also can play a half-court set of basketball where he can knock down a shot if given, and he can knock it down consistently and make the opposing team change their defensive strategy. Or he can go on a fast break and find somebody with a good pass, a good solid bounce pass, or a good solid pass in general, make the easy play, get 2 points, run back down there on defense, and keep it moving like that. See, that's just an example, but that's just a illustration of or example of what I'm trying to say about winning intangibles. Certain things other players have, other ones don't. Just because a player's getting paid more money than the other one doesn't mean he's really actually better when it comes to winning. He might be better individually as a player, but it doesn't mean he's better in regards to winning. And this is why I said, if you put somebody like Malcolm Brogdon, or let's say like really anybody, you could put even Mike Conley. You put Mike Conley in a situation like this with the Clippers, he would thrive a lot as well, even though he's older, because he can play half-court basketball. He can slow the game down and he's still effective. You can speed the game up and he's still effective. It doesn't matter. Either way, he's effective. And usually players that win championships can play half-court basketball style because they can knock down shots, they can make the defense pay either way, and they can get their shot off at any point, because if they're not a look to score first point guard, then they're looking to pass. But if they're looking to pass, the superstar on the team is definitely going to get double teamed at times. And if the point guard can knock down that shot, now the defense has a problem. They got to call a timeout to try to stop the other team who's on a run or who'll be going on a run that can, blow the game open. So those things like that go a long way when you're trying to win championships. So you need a point guard of that level. And I don't see John Wall being that type of point guard because he never has been. And like I said, you're asking him 10 years being in the NBA, or 10 plus years being in the NBA, I believe, to be a point guard he's never been, and he hasn't played in like who knows how long, a year or two or something like that. It's just a lot to ask of somebody, especially somebody who has played at a high level in the NBA, but only has played it one way: all gas, no brakes, 100 miles an hour speed, getting to the rim, making nice layups, things like that. Yeah, that's fine, but that doesn't win championships. It's a certain level of basketball you got to play to win championships. And right now, the Clippers are trying to win a championship. They're not trying to do anything else. So to me, the John Wall situation, based upon how he plays and the gameplay that we know of John Wall, that's not going to help you win championships. And it never has, no matter what player has played like that consistently over and over and doesn't know how to slow his game down at times to allow his game to, go with the flow of the offense on a half court set. Usually players like that don't win championships unless they're on the right team in the right situation. You have to know how to do that. You have to be able to play at that style, that pace. And when you think of LeBron, you think of all the greats, Kobe and all them, they knew how to play half court basketball along with playing up and down the court basketball. It's just the way it is. You got to know how to play both. You got to find ways to be effective when the game slows down. In the playoffs, you can't always be effective just one way, 100 miles an hour, because what about when the games are not played at that speed? Now you're the most ineffective player on the court. Your plus minus is probably in the negative, and you're not helping your teammates. You're actually hurting them more if your jump shot is not on, if you're not scoring like that. So you're actually more of a liability than an asset. So it's like, a lot goes into that. A lot goes into, the whole championship DNA type thing. And this is why I said if the Clippers decide to get John Wall, if the cheaper way out, I guess, would kind of sort of be him, because they don't have to trade anybody. If he's in a buyout situation, he could just, pretty much do what he want to do. You know what I'm saying? So that's an easier type situation than actually trading certain players, acquiring a new one, getting rid of picks, one or two picks, and one of the players you might actually liked on the team that you wanted to keep, but you want to try this new player out because you feel like he might better your chances of winning the championship. Hopefully that turns out the right way. It's so much that goes into the trading part rather than a player being bought out and just kind of having the option to, take any route they choose, like that. And it's easier, to negotiate with, their situation. So, of course, that's an easier type situation. So I can see why the Clippers are looking at it from that standpoint. But in the long run, you don't want to get a player like him and the operation fails because, like I said, this is pretty much the last year I think the Clippers might have an opportunity to really do something. Maybe one more year after this one. But to me, this is the year they at least have to make the finals, bare minimum. And they have to really, put their foot down, and so the NBA can not only, look at them from a standpoint of being a contender, but they can get that respect because they actually made it to a finals. The first time in history actually getting to an NBA finals would be huge, for their franchise and for everybody on the team. You know what I'm saying? Of course, Kawhi Leonard's got 2 championships, so it'd just be another NBA finals he's going to. That means he'd be to went to like 3 or 4 of them, so that means he'd be to went to 4 NBA finals, so that would be, good for him, specifically. But at the same time, it's got to end in a championship. It's got to at least end the NBA finals to a championship somewhere in that area. And if that's going to happen, they need the right point guard. They don't need a point guard who doesn't have those intangibles. And like I said, if they get John Wall, good luck to him. I'll say that, because like I said, John Wall is a talented, superiorly talented, point guard. Don't think he's not trash at all. He's not even close to being a trash player. John Wall, when healthy, I'd say he's a top 10 point guard in the league easily. And most people would say top 5 point guard in the league when he's healthy. So, don't get me wrong. He's definitely, somebody who can get you some wins. Somebody who can, razzle dazzle you, with some of his moves and stuff like that, get oohs and ahs from the crowd, stuff like that. But it's about winning championships, and that level of point guard is on another level. Back in the day, even though John Wall was a great player or a really good point guard, whatever you want to call him, would anybody take him over Rondo if they're trying to win a championship? several years ago back then, nobody would. Rondo has never been probably looked at as one of those high flashy type point guards, but when it come to winning in his prime, now I know when the Clippers had him, he was pretty much done to me. When the Clippers had him, they just had the worst of the Rondo of all Rondos. Like, I mean, he just wasn't like the Rondo he used to be. You see what I'm saying? But regardless, anybody wouldn't have took John Wall over Rondo back then, because Rondo is more of he's a championship type point guard. He can make flashy passes, but he does it at times. He'll make the good pass. He'll make the right pass when needed, and he'll make the right play when needed. I mean, he scored 30, 40 points in big games before. You know, he's played with the top players in the NBA and the Celtics before, so his IQ for the game is a lot different than a John Wall. He can't score as good as John Wall, but overall, he's a better point guard because championship level basketball mentality is always better than individualized, talented players. I mean, it's always better because winning championships is what it's all about. So, I mean, when you think about it, John Wall has a lot of attributes, but individually, it takes a lot to be on that level of winning, at that expense, at that level. So if the Clippers think they can get that out of him, then go after him, do that. But I would just warn him with precaution, with a John Wall. I feel like that'd be kind of like taking the easy way out. But really, the Clippers be better off trying to find a way to get somebody like Malcolm Brogdon, or maybe I'd like to see him find a way to get Tyus Jones, honestly. I think he's a free agent this year, as I said. We talked about in several videos about a couple weeks to a month ago, several videos ago about Tyus Jones. I definitely think they should look into him and some other point guards who can actually help them, and who I see who play basketball with a better with better judgment. You see what I'm saying? Like the John Walls and the Russell Westbrook, the judgment of those players at times, they make bad decisions at times. Like those type of point guards, they'll turn the ball over at the wrong time instead of, make the right play at the right time. I mean, it's just the way it is with those type point guards. I've seen John Wall get back-to-back turnovers in a game before when he was on the Wizards, and those back-to-back turnovers came in the fourth quarter with 2 minutes to go in the game, and that's what helped them lose that game. You see what I'm saying? That's just one game, but I mean, still, that's just an example of what I'm talking about. Certain guys, they make mistakes at the unopportune time or at the wrong time when you really don't need that to happen. And then all of a sudden you're trying to recover, but it's no way to do so. So, I mean, like I said, having that high level, high IQ basketball player in your point guard is very needed for the Clippers if they're going to try to win a championship this upcoming season. But we'll see what decision they make, and we'll see how far it takes them. But hey, that's my take on everything. Leave any comments in the comment section. Check out my other videos if you haven't. And hey, Khaliis out.